Howdy. Welcome to WordPress 3.6 preview. So just to get a feel for who I'm talking to, who's like beginner, novice, or just getting into it, want to like dig deep? Cool, great, welcome. Developers, anyone? Cool, awesome. Designers, hey, all right, cool. I'm a developer myself. I don't do design because, you know, I can't make pretty things, but anyway. WordPress 3.6, it's been in development since January, after 3.5 came out in December. It's a little bit behind schedule. It was supposed to come out in late April, but you know, they want to make good things for you, so they're delaying it for that. It's right now in release candidate stage, which means that the lead developers think it's good enough for the wild, but there's just a little bit more testing that has to be done. So we should tentatively see it in the next 2 weeks maybe, but who really knows, because, you know, good stuff does not come easy. So a little bit about me. I live in do-or-die Bed-Stuy. I'm a project manager / lead developer at my firm 50/50, and I'm on a lot of social media websites at my full annoying name. So, WordPress 3.6 had a couple, I'm gonna run through a little bit of kind of like the background of how development works on WordPress, just so we can be, you know, aware of it and like introduce you more to the community at large. So there were a couple changes in cycle practices by the lead developer team. There was a new cycle lead, which is the second version that this role has been played on the core team. This time it was performed by Mark Jakewith. And that includes planning the overarching themes of the cycle, what features should be developed, and making tough calls, important calls when necessary, when to cut things when they're not really working out, and to kind of just oversee the project. Who's familiar with the makewordpress.org blogs? Anyone? No one? 3 people? All right, cool. That's good. If you don't read it, you should really check it out, because it's a great spot. All the lead developers talk there on make.wordpress.org/core. Sorry, these kind of showed up a little bit hard to read. But there you can get kind of high-level updates about how feature development on WordPress core is going by the feature leads. Pretty awesome. In the past, this would mean, you know, if you wanted to follow along with how WordPress 3.6 is going, you would need to read maybe, you know, bug tickets on the bug tracker, which is not always the most pleasant way to find out about feature development, but these are easier to follow. Like I said, it's high level, and you can interact and ask questions. You know, it's a free forum, and it's you know, part of opening up the community so that they can get feedback from you. Yeah.
What is the actual make.wordpress?
Yeah, it's make.wordpress.org/core.
Okay.
Yeah. And in that site, there are a couple different blogs. There's core/core. There's a /UI where user interface development is talked about and like ideas are bounced around. There's accessibility, support, a bunch of others. It's really cool. Also new to the cycle is office hours, which means feature teams would meet twice a week in the IRC channel, which is a chat room. If you're not familiar with it, just Google it. There's a WordPress development one on ircfreenode.net at #WordPress/dev or -dev, but who's really counting? And so this was an opportunity for feature leads to talk about, you know, what's going on in their feature, what needs to be done, and also, you know, again, trying to be more transparent and open, offering, you know, an opportunity for anyone to come and talk about the feature and ask any questions relevant. And it also in this cycle we had feature development complete at beta, which means in old cycles sometimes big features would continue on in an unfinished state into beta, which is not the best practice because at beta you really want a product that at least the features are done, and in beta bug fixes will happen, and then at release candidate everything's like pretty much ready. So let's talk about the original scope of WordPress 3.6. We had a couple of features that originally were planned on development. There was revisions. I'll just list these out real quick and we'll review what they are later. Autosave, post locking, post formats, editorial flow, 2013 admin icons and nav menus. A couple of these, as do normally happen in WordPress development cycles, got cut because they didn't work for one reason or another. And we'll take a look at a couple of those. The three that got cut were post formats, editorial flow, and admin icons. So the first one that got cut was admin icons. It wasn't even that big of a change, but it was just the actual icons that go in the nav bar and in the body of pages on the admin screens. But design changes incite riots usually, for whatever reason, in development communities, which is because of the openness of WordPress development, everyone has an opinion, and everyone can vocalize their opinion. But that's kind of a double-edged sword because we end up trying to respect everyone's opinion while building something that everyone likes to a degree. So other than that, plugins had custom icons that would have to be refactored for this new 3.6 version, which would be a lot of work to put on every developer within 5 months. So development on this kind of got taken out of core and put into a plugin called MP6, where things have really improved. It's pretty cool. This is a new trend in WordPress feature development, where if something's not working or a feature wants someone wants a feature to be in core, you'll make a plugin version of it first, and then it can be considered for core later. This is actually pretty awesome because it gives developers the freedom to experiment without reprimand from a wide audience, and it means that the work can be done on this feature outside of the cycle schedule. It can be incorporated into core when it's ready, but it doesn't have to happen over this 5-month period. So I thought it'd be cool just to take a peek. Have any of you seen MP6, or is this new? Yeah. It's a pretty serious refactoring of the WordPress admin screen. I'm in themes. We have a totally new color scheme. I guess it doesn't really come out that great on here because of the resolution, but a lot of small style CSS changes and complete mobile support, which is pretty cool. So that's a sneak peek of that. So that's been shelved from core development, but with intent to bring it back maybe for 3.7, something to look forward to. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Sure, sorry about that. Yeah, and if I'm going too fast or whatever, or if you have a question, please shout it out. Yeah. Okay, so in general, it's a WordPress plugin, so it's separate. To restyle the admin screens in general, to give them a new look. If we notice, here, I'll open up a new window.
What is the improvement
Um, where am I? Okay. Well, first of all, mobile support is the last item I touched on, which is just really important for the modern world, because 30% of users are on mobile devices. Yeah, exactly. It's responsive design. Like, let me show you. If we look at the regular post screen, we do have like some mobile support, but as far as in MP6 now. But it wasn't completely mobile supported, so now that is added in with MP6. Yeah, for the admin. And as well as that, was that? Yeah, sure. Will do. And it's a complete refactoring of, the styles of, notice the coloring of the admin bar and the navigation bar. There's stylings throughout the admin that have changed minorly, just for a bit of cleanup. If you Google MP6, you can, they actually have on, I think it's on the UI blog, they did a week by week version after version with feedback from users and developers alike. So you can read through that on the Make the WordPress UI blog about all that they did on that. Anyway, does that answer your question?
So the current WordPress admin is not really, the current WordPress admin, you log into WordPress, is currently not really very mobile friendly. Very difficult to navigate on your phone. Right, it doesn't work very well. Plus, if you've seen what the preview of what iOS 7 is coming out, what Apple's doing, it's more of a flat design, it's a totally different look, flat icon. So MP6 is an experiment to add a mobile, make the admin more mobile friendly, and give it a flatter look. It's not in WordPress, it's an experiment in MP6, and if the community loves it and it gets the thumbs up, they can easily move it into 3.7.
Sure. I'll try to be more articulate in the future. Yeah. Sure. Sure, I'm sorry, yeah, I'll try to slow down the pace a little bit. Yeah, what's up? Yeah. Well, the app and the mobile site are separate. You could use either. I believe you have more functionality in your own site and your browser on your phone rather than using the WordPress mobile app. It's a little bit limited in what it can do. Yeah, MP6 would allow you to do everything you would normally do in desktop version of your WordPress site. Yeah. Sorry? Is it multi-site ready? I believe so. I assume so. They've finished their last version, 1.6, just a week or two ago. So, yeah. Multi-site is a feature of WordPress that allows you to have multiple blogs or sites in one installation, and kind of like WordPress.com is a hosted WordPress environment. That's a multi-site where, I have a blog and you have a blog, but we're all within the same WordPress installation on a single server. Anyone else? Yeah. Features in the back end of what? Yeah, the question was, are there features that work on all three, or multi-site? Yeah, we'll do general QA, but Yeah, sure. All right, so another feature of WordPress 3.6 that was originally developed on was post formats. Simply described, if you're familiar with Tumblr, which kind of took the era or the field of microblogging, where you have different, you want to make a text post on your blog, a photo post, and you just upload a photo. This is the idea of post formats. It entered WordPress in 3.1, I believe. You see in the sidebar when you're editing a post, you can select different post formats if your theme has it active. And in this version, 3.6, the plan was to spruce that UI up a little bit. So at the top, you would have your selection of different post formats that you want to choose from. And then the user interface, actually, you can see here, we have the title, but the content is hidden because we've selected a video post. So all we see is the title and the video that we have related to this post. It was pretty handy, but eventually, kind of late in the game, it was decided to be cut just because it wasn't really working out. There was still a lot of internal arguments or conversations about it not exactly fitting in well. So it was tabled and will also be followed up like MP6 in a plugin later on. Sorry?
What do you mean by post format?
Yeah, so a post format, like, okay, so you have a blog in your site, and on your blog are posts. So post formats allows you to categorize posts in a more granular way based on their content. So usually you would just have your standard post, a long form, writing about like how much you love your cat. But post formats opens it up so you could just have, let's say, an image post format where you just upload a picture of your cat, and that's the whole post. You don't have any like content to the post that's textual. And you can do the same thing. For instance, here I have the trailer to Blade Runner as the video in this post. And I'll demo it a little bit. There's no, on some post formats, there's no text. Yeah. So the idea is that your theme would then display your post formats differently. And we'll see a little bit later, actually. I'll come back to this. When we look at the bundled theme 2013 and how that does that. Yes?
When you've created a WordPress blog,
Yeah.
and you want to organize the posts that you've done, you can usually do it with some kind of archiving, and then you're allowed to create trees of how to save those things. Is the post format at all related?
No,
to
it's
archive your stuff?
It's a bit different. Archiving, I think you're more talking about categories maybe, where you would catalog the kinds, what your content is about.
The categorizations allow you to retrieve from your website. You know where to go.
Yeah, it's organization versus
Exactly.
display.
And so-
Organization versus
Yeah.
But I don't understand.
Post formats are display.
So post formats are so that your theme can, we'll come back to this in 2013 and we'll clear it up. Any other questions before we move along? So out of post formats, though, there was a saving grace of native video and audio support, which was necessary to incorporate into the post formats feature that we got kind of as a saving grace. So we'll come back to that later, too. And editorial flow is another next feature that has to do with post statuses. Like in WordPress, you can write a post and put it in, save it as a draft. It's not live on your site. But there were issues with how do you deal with editing a post that's been published that you want to follow up on, but you don't want to save that immediately live on your site. And a bunch of other questions about editorial workflow. But this was a bunch of questions came up about implementation that couldn't really be solved in an easy way. So this was tabled for this version as well. Yeah, actually, this is the header to a plugin called Edit Flow, which is what development on this feature in core was based on. So if you want to try that out, go for it. So we're left with flagship features of 3.6, which we'll now take a look at in some live demos. So the first one is revisions, visualizing your editorial changes. Okay. And let me turn off MP6. You can check it out at home. So formerly in... No, that's cool. Yeah. Okay, formally, this is 3.5, the current version that you probably have installed on your site. Revisions has to do with, while you're editing your post, seeing the changes that you've made over time. I think they're hidden by default, but you can enable them in the screen options up here, and you would hit revisions. So we can see I have 3 revisions actually. And we get something that looks like kind of like if you went into the wrong page on Wikipedia and wanted to compare versions of Wikipedia pages. It serves its purpose. We pick 2 versions and compare them. So you see, this should be red, which kind of looks like pink, and the blue, just imagine is green. But we see our subtractions and additions to the post between the 2 dates. So works pretty good, does the trick. But now this is, I'm running WordPress Trunk, which is the current version of WordPress, the nightly. I have revisions open. I made a little demo here. And we go into the same revisions page, but you see it's pretty dramatically different. We have a slider up here, which represents a timeline of the post that's been edited. You'll notice you can actually just drag along to see particular posts, and you'll see the changes in that singular post here, again, in the light blue. Even granular into words that were edited. And this scales really well. You could have something like up to 200 revisions, I'm sure would work fine. And you would just do that. You can also compare between 2 revisions like we saw in the 3.5 version. You have a seeker bar here where you can select your previous version you want to compare and the next version. And you can restore to old versions. So that's revisions. Yeah, question? Yeah, you do, by the nature of revisions, have multi-user revisions. So while you're
particular section that different users have edited, that would come up here.
yeah, and sorry I didn't repeat the question, but the question was, how does multi-user editing come into play here? And the answer is yes. If there was another author on my site, we would see their revisions here as well. And it's all just based chronologically here, so depending on what user wrote whatever when, it'll just show up there.
So you can't filter by user, you just see all users.
The question is, can you filter by user? I don't believe so. Yeah, and that would probably start to be problematic because you would be missing out on revisions where things got added and you wouldn't be able to see where it added.
Does it at least show you who did it in each revision?
Yeah, we got our little gravatar up here on each revision, no matter which version we're in. Yes? Yeah, the question is it available for other custom post types? I believe so. It just matters whether or not you have revisions enabled at the register post type level. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool. So the next big feature, maybe the coolest feature of WordPress 3.6 is autosave. Never lose anything ever again. It hasn't happened to me in a while because I have a Chrome plugin that. Yeah. Within WordPress, at least, you'll never lose anything ever again. And this applies to when we're talking about editing content on your WordPress site. I'll give a little demo of this. So say you're, editing some content. Oh yeah, sure, yeah. So while you're editing content, there's a bunch of magic going on in the background that you don't really know about or need to know about. But say we lose internet connection. I'm gonna actually have to turn off Apache from terminal. Because I'm on my local. And we've lost internet connection. We continue editing our post, and then why did this update? We'll actually not be allowed to update because WordPress has detected that we lost our internet connection, so we have to do this really fast. But okay. And then we have it back. Okay. And we get a white screen. Bam. Where did my stuff go? When we go back to edit the post, we'll get a little notification. The backup of this post in your browser is different from the version below. Restore the backup. And we get it back. Yeah. Exactly. Which is really helpful for long form, blog writers or journalists where they use WordPress or you use WordPress as your main content editor. You're not copying over from Microsoft Office. It's about trust, really. This is a safe, secure space to write. And you shouldn't need to use Microsoft Word if you don't want to. Post locking. So say you have a site that you have 10 authors on, and you want to avoid, stepping on each other's toes when you're editing content on your site. WordPress had a little bit of support for letting you know, at least, that you're editing a post while someone else was editing it. But in 3.6, we get something called post locking, where you actually won't be allowed to edit that post while someone else is editing it. I'll give a demo of this. I'll have to turn on Apache. Okay. So if I open up an incognito window and log in as a different user on the site named Cody, And I want to change the Cronuts picture to something else. We'll notice in the background, we just got this pop-up of Eric Lewis is currently editing, and we get the lock icon, which means we can't do any bulk actions. They just won't apply to the post because Cody's in it. Don't touch Cody's stuff. If we try to just click the post, we'll get this notice that says, this content is currently locked. If you take over, Eric Lewis will be blocked from continuing to edit. So say Cody went out, yeah.
I was like, you have like a battle with other people, and it's like, block it, unlock it.
There's no points scored in WordPress core, but you could write a plugin for that.
Gamification, right? You know, the question
Yeah.
is,
Oh, sorry, that was real
you
quick.
know, so whoever outranks, like, I guess, is it the person who started the post that gets priority, or is it the person who, you know, who's an admin versus someone who might be?
It's actually kind of like call waiting or the emergency. The question was who gets priority in final say of I want to edit this post right now. Yeah, actually, do you know the emergency breakthrough thing you can do on phones where you need to get through to someone, and if they're on the line with someone else, then they just get like nixed off. It's like the opposite of call waiting. It's pretty much whoever's second to the game has the option to take over if they have capability rights to edit the post. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna ask what the 3 choices are.
Yeah, let's take a look. The 3 choices are, we can go back, which means that we'll let him do what he's doing. We can preview what he's working on, or we can take over, which means, yeah. Okay.
Is there like a notify option? You know?
Yeah, we'll look at that in a second. So say, yeah, Cody's out. He's like, yo, I'm gonna go get a cronut. So if we hit take over, we'll see on Cody's screen it went shadowy, and he gets the notification that says admin has taken over and is currently editing.
So if Cody goes up to Chrome, gets to go back to work, you can still proceed with that.
Yes, the question is, does the person taking over have complete control over editing the post? And that's correct. If you need to get this article out, you can. So Cody has no options other than to just return to the all posts page where he will see the notification that admin is currently editing. So he's out.
He's like, no, I'm finishing this sentence right now.
I think for that you'll have to rely on interpersonal communication.
I think that's what happens rather than take it.
Oh, he has the same option, which is what we were talking about. Yeah, you can just go back and forth all day playing, passive-aggressive WordPress war.
I'll write a plan for that.
So, as I mentioned earlier, from Post Forum Maps was born native audio and video support, which is really cool. In the past, in the current version of WordPress, you need a plugin to just upload video and display it on your own website. And there were a lot of them out there. I don't know if I ever found one I really liked, but thankfully that's in WordPress core now. Oh, the colors are not going to work with this post format, huh? There's a couple ways you can do it now. You can upload videos and MP3s, whatever, audio to your media library up here. I think I actually put one in here. I did. Hopefully the color's better. Nope. And then through Add Media, you would insert the audio file you uploaded, and then it'll drop in a new shortcode that is in WordPress core. There's one called audio and one called video. if you're not familiar with what a shortcode is, it's kind of a little meta language when you're editing your post to do cool things, add functionality in the middle of your post. For this situation, we're saying, here's an audio file, make a cool audio player, show on the front end for this. So we can see here, I'll just undo this change and we'll view this post on the front end. So this is the first time we're going to look at 2013, which looks nicer on your screen than it does up here. But this is a post format of audio with an MP3 that has been embedded in this cool little player, which has great backwards compatibility support into the IE lands and further. Can you access the UI for that player through those themes? I have not looked into it. It's through a, does anyone know off the top of their head? It's through a media library called, yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but we can look that up afterwards. It'll probably be a little bit of a rabbit hunt to get the answer on that. But I'm sure you can, really. I'm just going to say yes. So I showed you audio. We have the same for video. You can just upload video to your site, host it yourself, a little bit more, freedom, as in freedom. And not only that, but you can actually just drop URLs to an audio file or a video file straight into your WordPress post here, and on a line of its own, and WordPress will do a lot of magic and just make that look pretty on the front end and have an embedded video player for you. And the same thing would work, yeah.
Does that player play Flash?
Play Flash, like SWF files? I don't think so. I mean, Flash files, I believe, you just use its own object embed code. Sorry?
You have a video to sample it?
I don't know off the top of my head, but let's just Google SWF. And
I think it depends on the browser you're using. So try to use
I mean, I want to say no off the top of my head, but I could be wrong. Try it at home and see if it works, because SWF is a proprietary format by nature, so I assume it's not in there, but we can check afterwards.
Are you saying basically that instead of downloading like the icons, downloading it from video or from YouTube, if you now put it in your media library and take it there and put it where you feel like it posts?
So the question is,
What's the difference
between hosting something yourself and hosting something?
what we have now?
What's the difference between what we have now and what we have had before?
Now we download when we put the code in. Is it now
Yeah.
we download them to the media library, which we couldn't do? Is that what you're saying?
No, you could. Okay, so the question is, how is this different than our workflow from before with uploading media to our WordPress media library? So you could do that before. You could upload an MP3 to your media library, but as far as outputting it on the front end of your site, you would have to. Most browsers don't, especially older ones, don't have just native audio HTML5 support. So this means that there needs to be some kind of magic under the hood that would do that for you. So in the past, there would be a plugin that you might download that would handle doing that with like a short code in your post. So you could still do it before, but now it's just like a lot easier for you to do. You just upload to your media library and link from the media modal selector.
Instead of using the old SEO.
You could upload
Yeah.
anything to the media library but you would need a plugin or some extra code to make it work, to make it display on the
Like the
browser.
Yoast.
No, Yoast is for SEO. You would use like a J audio.
JF.
Yeah, I forgot what it's
Player.
called. I use it all the time. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it
Yes.
is.
Is that free plugins?
Yes. And that's actually really
You don't need to know them anymore. It's over.
I know. I just, that is a really awesome plugin. But yeah, now you can just do it without an extra.
It does support Flash.
It won't play on an iPhone.
Interesting. But wait, through the new native.
Media element.js.
Interesting. Yeah, MediaElement.js is the package that it's all based on. So yeah, that's cool. Nav menus UI is the next feature that I'll demo. So if you're relatively familiar with WordPress, you've probably seen the menu screen before, where you go to edit the menu in your header of your theme and drag some stuff around. This is what it looks like before it's, and this is what it looks like today. It's a little bit more simplified. The core team took out a meta box from the left sidebar and incorporated it into one experience in the right to set up theme locations, which means a theme location is a menu in the header is separate from your menu in the footer, which is separate from a menu you might have in the sidebar of your post. Some themes have a lot of them. Most don't have too many. In 2013, there's only one, so that's that. You'll notice I actually don't have a menu, but it's pre-populated a menu structure for me to get me started in WordPress 3.6. A lot of UI testing was done on this feature, which is really cool. If you go to the Make UI blog, you'll see a lot of discussion about UI testing, where users are given, things to do. Go make a menu. Go put this in the menu. Move this around in your menu, and it's just really cool to watch people struggle with it and realize how your design is not cool. But anyway, you'll notice these meta boxes are accordion style, open one at a time only, which is similar to the customizer. If you've seen that, the theme customizer, which came in 3.4, just to make it easier to access all your items. So I'm gonna save my menu and apply it to my navigation menu. You still have all the old tricks. You can just, drag and drop stuff around. There's now a devoted tab to managing locations in case you have one of those themes that has 10 theme location or menu locations. So you can just do them bulk edit here. So that's Nav Menus UI. And 2013, the new bundled theme with WordPress 3.6. It's a pretty big break from previous bundled themes. It's very design forward. Kind of looks like a 1950s jazz record cover put into the internet. So let's just dive in and take a look at it. So we have the home. We'll notice we have a flexible header that you can put in a custom image if you want. We were looking at this a little bit before, but now that we're on the blog post roll, we can see the difference between how the theme has decided to render post formats, which we were discussing earlier. So here we see an image post, and we see the image big like this, and we have the title. Heading into Manhattan on my new bike is status post, which is kind of similar to what you would, tweet out or, update your Facebook status. Has a little bit different styling. This is a quote post. So they've decided to make, especially the background and, the text, the font choices are all consistent between post types, so they're easily recognizable. And this is really what the post format is. It's how the theme chooses to display your different post format content types. And long form, regular blog post, video, nice and big, and audio with a nice little audio icon. A couple things to notice about 2013 is these little, what we call generic icons here, which, if I can find one again, they're a font icon family that will scale to whatever degree because it's a font, rather than being a static image. And that's actually something made by Automatic, which you can use in your projects. It's open source. Hey. I think it's just called generic icons, yeah. Yep. And there's a bunch of, different icons you can use for your project. It's the new rage. It's, of course, fully responsive. You get squish content, drop-down menu, search bar, which pops out. Nice animation. I believe we only have 2 widget areas in 2013. We have the footer, which kind of throws all your widgets in a jumble at the bottom. And they're actually all floated left, which is like an interesting way to do widgets, I thought, but there aren't actual columns here. And we also have a widget area on the post page. Oh, might not have it enabled, but it'll show up on your right-hand sidebar. Another option for widgets. It's not swipey? No. Yeah, this is just a MacBook. Oh, I don't believe so. No, it doesn't have any kind of... The question was, can you swipe on a mobile device on 2013? And the answer is no. That would be a slider of some sort, probably, that would have that kind of functionality. But... are you talking about a drawer, kind of, like you might see? Yeah, Facebook, yeah. So the question is there a... No, that's fine. Is there a drawer kind of menu in 2013? And there actually is not, but since you bring that up, it's actually a function of MP6, which hides all your navigation in that drawer kind of menu. Hamburger menu. Pastrami on rye. So that's that. Yeah.
So is that particular theme going to be downloadable elsewhere, or how does one get at that? Does it come?
Yeah, how do you get 2013?
And so that's only going to get when 3.6 is officially available?
So you could actually download 2013 in the repository right now. It was officially released like 2 or 3 weeks ago on WordPress.com. So if you have a WordPress.com blog, you can download it now. Generally, it's thought to wait until the next version is out to release it as a bundled theme in WordPress.org version of WordPress. Yeah.
You said that is available as part of the 3.6 version bundle, but if
Yes.
3.6 is not out yet, what, can you use the 3.5
So can you use, yeah, can you use 2013 on 3.5? I actually believe that it is 3.5 compatible. And you would just go into your themes. Yeah, actually, you're right. I'm running 3.6. We can go back to a legacy version. It's not available in the themes repository? Really? Interesting. Sorry, I thought it was actually, but I guess not. You have to wait for 3.6, which should come out in 2 weeks, so wait until then. It might, you know, what it might be is it's dependent on 3.6 functionality, which might be the snag there. Oh yeah. So WordPress.com kind of runs their own ship, and you can get through 2013 on WordPress.com. You know, I'm actually not sure the answer to this, but I believe you can just upgrade from whatever version to the current version, and it'll, you know, hopefully make it there. Yes?
Well, it changed when I logged off and I logged on, it automatically changed to the new version. So I'm not sure. It looks a little different at first, but it works.
On your own hosted version of WordPress?
Yep.
Cool. I'm surprised about that. You must have something going on there, like automatic updating.
I'm not a 50%. Everything that happens is just kind of like a non-hand. It's okay.
Into the wardrobe, yeah. Yes?
I went to GoDaddy to have them download for me on my, well, it's actually, so would that be something that would automatically change to 3.6? Because I'm not exactly sure.
So the question is, I have GoDaddy. I installed WordPress through GoDaddy. Will that automatically upgrade to 3.6? GoDaddy specifically, I don't believe, forces you to upgrade to 3.6. You'll need to manually update it when the version comes out. You'll get a nag message, kind of like, oh, I actually disabled them for this talk. But yeah, at the top of your WordPress administrative interface, you get a yellow note here that says upgrade is available. So just look out for that. Is it possible because I'm using a Mac?
That it's upgrading itself, maybe?
No, that would really have to be something that you customized in your WordPress install. There's really, the question was, is there any way that WordPress is just upgrading itself of its own accord? But yeah, core will never make you upgrade until that's a new feature of WordPress 4.1, you know? Yeah. Sure.
Very adequate. Right now I'm using 3.5.2.
Yeah.
And
Up to date.
myself, I want to upgrade. If I press the button, I'm afraid it's going to like throw everything off, everything that I have on my website. Can that happen from experience, or would it just like go smooth? I'm assuming it won't go smooth because.
Yeah. So the question.
When I upgrade my iPhone, I lose contacts, I lose everything. So I'm figuring it's the same for this.
Yeah. So the question is, I'm on the latest version of WordPress now. If I go to upgrade to 3.6, is everything gonna fizz out on me? I would say, I want to say no, but wait a little bit. Check all the things that you've customized in your WordPress install. Check the theme author's homepage to see, even ping them on Twitter, like, hey, will this work with 3.6? The same thing with your plugins if you want to be really safe. I would just say hit upgrade, but I'm a developer, so I, am biased in that. But if not, if you have an issue, go to WordPressNYC.org and ask someone about it.
So actually, I'll give you a couple of tips on that. So first off, you have backups of your site, right? You're backing up your site regularly. Okay, then that's the first step. That you should have backups of your website, the database and the files. And it should be done regularly, just like you would need a backup of your home computer. So if you upgrade and something goes wrong, you can always restore one of your backups. That's the first thing you should do. I know this is being recorded, and I'm going to say something that a lot of people are going to disagree with, but like actually what Eric just said, you don't have to upgrade immediately when 3.6 comes out. So WordPress, the core team of WordPress has vowed to support one version back in terms of security holes and patches, meaning one family. So when 3.6 comes out, 3.5 will still be supported for security patches. 3.4 we're not. So you have 3.4 and a security hole shows up months from now, no one will patch it for you. So you should really only be one family back. I personally probably will not upgrade to 3.6. I will wait a couple of weeks because this is going to be 3.6.1. It's just going to happen. There's going to be bugs and things like that. Also, it gives time for plugin developers to upgrade their plugins and make them compatible with WordPress 3.6. So, as a beginner, that's how I would do it. I would wait to 3.6.1, but make sure you're at least at 3.5.2. If you're not, then you have a problem. You have another question.
Yeah, so let's say you just can't.
Wait, here's another question. Go ahead.
I think my distinct question, I have 3.5.1, 3.5.1. So it says to upgrade to 3.5.2, so I guess that's...
So the 3.5.1 to 0.2 is a very minor upgrade. It's fixing, it's called a maintenance release, so it's fixing like little bugs that are issues, and and actually it's I think a security hole. There was a security issue, I think, for 3.2. So that I feel is safe. Like I've never seen, that's not an issue. But like a major family is a problem, and you said you can't, so your question is, what if you can't wait? You need it 3.60.
Let's say you do it.
Then back up your database.
So, yeah, so your data's safe, you backed it up.
Right.
You upgrade to the latest one and you find out that some crucial element is dependent on a plugin that's no longer being upgraded and your site is now broken. Can you roll back the version?
If you have it back up, you can.
So if you back up the data, you're backing up the WordPress operating.
I mean, you need, well, there are different types of ways of backing up. Make sure your backups are solid. There are two pieces to a website, a WordPress website. The files, meaning WordPress, your theme, your plugins, those are the files, and then the database, right? You need to back up both. Both need to be backed up on a regular basis. There are plugins that do that. We have them listed on the website. There are hosting companies that automatically do it for you. We had 2 of them present in the last couple of months, WP Engine and Pagely, automatically back up your stuff for you. So if you need to roll back, you can roll back. If you're using GoDaddy or something like that, you need to back up yourself.
What about the application version? I want to get back to 3.5.1.
Why do you want to go back to 3.5.1?
I don't know.
If you back up, as long as you, backups are backups, right? They're the same way you're backing up your data anyway. If you have a backup from 3 years ago, you can go back in time and essentially restore that. So, I'm sorry, do we have any more questions about this, or are we just taking general questions?
Actually, as long as you're talking about backup,
Yes.
you said with GoDaddy does it for you.
Okay, so we'll talk about backups in 1 second. Okay. Any other questions about 3.6 for Eric, or we could just start taking general questions? All right, so Eric, here you go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, in the back. You're gonna have to shout. So I heard native video, if you're using a CDN, Sorry, I can't hear you. Could you?
Well, the new native is not every fact on CDN, correct?
The new native has effect on. However, so the question is, will 3.6 have an effect if you have CDN media? Short answer, no. Longer answer, however you have your media set up in your post content, when you upgrade to 3.6 will be unaffected. So if you have a plugin that handles your media in a certain way and outputs a custom audio player, then that'll stay there. But you can include external audio or video from anywhere on the web with what I mentioned with just dropping even an MP4 file on a single line in your WordPress content. WordPress will just automatically parse that and make it into a pretty player like we saw earlier. Same thing with video files. So yeah, you can still effectively use a CDN. Yeah.
Well, if you want to post an MP4 link and you don't want it to, is there a way to switch off?
If you just want like a literal URL that's an MP4 HTTP on one line, I think you might need to wrap that in some kind of HTML element to avoid the, automatic wrapping. Yeah.
Would it be possible to just summarize, what are the 2 or 3 really key differences or improvements in the new 3.6 over what we have now?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even mention this, but the major theme for the version was editorial workflow. So a bunch of the features that we looked at, post-locking, autosave, I think there was one more, but revisions, yes, revisions. Had to do with that theme. So I think that's a major takeaway, but also every feature stands on its own as a really solid improvement. It just really depends on what you need your site to do, the features that will benefit you there. Are there performance improvements? I'm sure, but I haven't heard any specific, like.
The last one, 3.5, they said there was.
Yeah, there was a lot of awesomeness loaded into, less database calls and whatnot. I'm sure some has been trimmed off, but I haven't looked through every track ticket on 3.6 yet. Yeah.
Video and audio formats are supported?
Pretty much any, what video and audio formats are supported, pretty much anything you have is probably supported, is what I want to say. We were discussing a little bit about whether or not Flash formats were accepted, and if Flash is supported, then I think a lot are supported.
If you go to MediaElementsJS.com,
Yeah.
pretty much covers the landscape.
Yeah. So that's just browser support, but yeah, pretty much any kind of audio file you have will be supported in 3.6 natively.
Yeah, I think if you put up an MP3 and you wrap it in a native audio tag, I think it'll use Flash. It'll use Flash on some browsers. It'll use.
Yeah, MediaElement.js does a lot, and Silverlight if it's.
If it's a cool browser.
Right.
It'll use Flash if it's not a cool browser. Not the iPhone.
I'm not sure, I haven't tested on the iPhone, but I'm sure it's well supported, yeah.
I think it's a link or something. Oh no, it's HTML5.
Yeah, probably. Yes?
Can you explain about the menu? Can you explain about the menus? How the new menu thing is different than the old menu thing?
Yeah, we looked at it a little bit. It's mostly a UI change. It's completely in the WordPress admin interface. Yeah, you'll still be creating custom menus. It's just an attempt to making custom menus easier for end users. After looking at a bunch of user experience workflows of people trying to use the old menus and seeing what needed to be cleaned up, consolidating the workflow more over into this one single panel on the right to be more straightforward, trying to make it easier for users to understand the idea of theme locations and accessibility to all your content to put in your menu. Yeah. Sure. Anything else? That's it? Cool.